had a great week. For those of you in the US that will be celebrating Memorial Day this weekend, happy Memorial Day. And for those of you that have previously served or serve in the military, thank you for all your service and sacrifice. That said, I want to get on to this week's video. This week, I wanted to talk about a topic that I was just pondering about last week. And that is more fitness always better? I was reading another newsletter and I came across this interesting fact that people who have run a mile in 4 minutes or less live on average 4.7 years beyond their life expectancy. So if I ran a 4-minute mile at some point in my life and I was expected to die at 55, I would almost make it to 70 in some cases. Bad. I'll take the extra 4.7 years, I think. But that just got me thinking about the amount of fitness that's required to run a 4-minute mile. So just to put this in perspective, there's only ever been just shy of 2,000 people that have ever run a sub or a mile in 4 minutes or less in the entire world, in the entire lifetime of the world. Across our entire human existence, only 2,000 people have ever accomplished this feat. And considering there is a multi-billion, I don't know what the population number is, 7-8 billion people in the world currently, and there were many more people over the past several million years, it's quite the feat if you think about it. And it's quite a small percentage of the human population that has ever accomplished this feat. And so it is extremely hard to do, to run a sub 4-minute mile. I will never come close to that. I'll say that right off the bat. And it takes an extreme amount of fitness and dedication, and some of it's obviously genetic, to be able to do that and to put in the amount of work to reach that sub 4-minute mile is quite admirable. I think it's a lot. And the one thing to note here is that what I'm about to say is that these people just accomplished this feat maybe once, maybe they've done it a couple of times, but the study wasn't like they had to maintain that ability throughout their entire lifespan. It's just they happened to accomplish that feat one time in their life. But it still got me thinking, like, the amount of fitness that it takes to get there is pretty extreme. And it's actually, I bet you while they were training to reach that goal, they sacrificed a lot. And it might have sacrificed some of their health. Because I imagine, I'm not an expert in this area, so I'm just guessing, but you're probably sacrificing quite a bit of other physical pursuits in order to pursue that running goal. You have to run and be a very good runner in order to run that sub 4-minute mile. And so I imagine maybe they probably weren't doing a lot of other stuff besides running, like strength training, for example. Like maybe that took some years off their life. Or maybe if they ran a 5-minute mile and did some strength training, they could have lived a little bit longer, right? And then the dedication, when we're talking about extreme fitness goals, like people at their peak fitness levels. So just moving beyond the 4-minute mile, the people who have accomplished that. What about professional athletes? They sacrifice a lot of stuff in order to be a professional athlete. Like being a professional athlete is not an easy thing. They're sacrificing time with their family. They're sacrificing, we know, for example, people who are in sports where there's a lot of collisions, like they can be sacrificing their brain health. If we look at people who are at the pointy edge of bodybuilding, like they tend to not live as long. We look at sumo wrestlers, like carrying around all that weight for all that period of time. Yeah, they're at the pinnacle of what they're able to do. Their fitness is extremely high. Most people will never be that fit, but it doesn't necessarily always translate into health and longevity and sticking around for the longest period of time. And also you have to sacrifice just like your life, like your social connections and like the amount of time you spend training and to reach that level of fitness, the toll it takes on your body sometimes to just day after day, week after week, year after year of pounding your body at the extreme pointy edge of fitness, just it takes a toll. I guess that answers the question in my mind. Like, it's cool to say you run a sub 4-minute mile, but for most people, is the additional 4.7 years added to your life at worth the trade-off? I don't know. I'm not really sure. For me, I probably, like I said, I would never be able to do that no matter how hard I tried or how much time I put into it. I've never even come close to doing that. But I don't know if I would trade that off. If I was in the position I am in now and I thought I had the ability to run a sub 4 minute mile and I had to put in a whole bunch of extra work, time, dedication, training, I don't know if I would do that. And in fact, I've made this choice, done this for myself. I've done this comparison. There was a time in 2018 where I ran an ultra distance 50K, which is around just over 30 mile obstacle course race. It was like 60 obstacles. There was like 10,000 feet of elevation. And I'd put in the time to train for that, to complete it. Like I didn't finish first place, but I did well enough to qualify for the Ultra World Championships that year because of that race. So I did fairly well. I completed it. But after I was done, I didn't want to do it again. I have no desire to do it again. It was a lot of sacrifice. Like I trained all winter long, outside, running in the New England winter, in the snow, into the spring. And then I put my body through hell that day to do that race. And yeah, it was cool to say that I did it. I did an ultra distance obstacle course race, and I got the belt buckle that you get for completing anything over 50K. It's really cool. I have it hanging on my wall, and I got my t-shirt, and I got a good pat on the back saying that I finished it. And I got a cool email saying I qualified for Ultra World Championships. But I also did at the sacrifice of my health, frankly. I did the best I could from a health perspective, but was the amount of volume and training I put in to be at that level of fitness to complete that race worth it at the end of the day for me? I've decided no. I have no desire to do another ultra distance event of any kind at this point in my life, because the way I feel, the time I'm able to spend with my family is just more important to me right now than putting in that effort. I'm not saying not eliminating the possibility that someday I'll get the itch to go and do an ultra distance event again, but I don't want to sacrifice my time, my health, my functionality day to day. I had to run 6 days a week. I was doing very minimal strength training. I love strength training. It was a sacrifice for me. I don't want to give that up right now. And I certainly wasn't fast by any means. I was training for a 50K rate. Like I sacrificed other areas of my fitness that was not as good. And I think I was super fit aerobically, but I wasn't, like, overall, I don't think it was better for me long term. And so maybe there'll be a study one day that comes out and says people who have completed an ultra distance race tend to live 3 years younger. And if they did, great. But I'm going to put my money on more moderate and approachable fitness goals that satisfy my current lifestyle and longevity, I think, better. I think it's better served by that. What do I think is reasonable for most people to get the most out of their lives? Most of the data says if you're doing 2 strength training sessions a week and 2 cardio sessions a week, and you're walking the rest of the time or active in some other fashion for the rest of the time, you're getting the equivalent of 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day, just moving your body for the other 4 days a week, you're doing pretty good and probably a hell of a lot better than most people are. And that level of fitness is not extreme. It doesn't take a lot of effort. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it is hard to stick to, for sure. A lot of people can't do that. That level of dedication, time and again, day in, day out, that I think is probably, good enough to get you 99.9% of your longevity that you have predetermined in your body, right? And so I would stick with that, because that's really seems a sweet spot where you get to enjoy your life. You might not be the best, but you get to enjoy your life, enjoy your lifespan, and not sacrifice certain things for a measly 4.7 years, maybe, if that's not important to you. So that's my thoughts on the topic. What do you think about it? Would you trade off if you had to put in the time and effort to run a course of reach some level of fitness, let's say some level of extreme fitness, and you got almost 5 years extra on your life? Would you do that? Would you put in that time, that dedication, that effort? Maybe you wouldn't. I'm not sure. But let me know in the comment or send me a message. I'm happy to discuss it if you disagree with me or what your opinion is. And as always, if you want to keep up with all the content that I put out on my ramblings or musings or technical jargon or blog posts, whatever, please go to my website, rjbhealth.coach, click on the newsletter link at the top, and you can enter your email address and sign up for the newsletter. We'll get you on a newsletter, and I'll email you everything that I put out on a weekly basis. Or also, I do have a couple spots open for one-on-one coaching. So if you're interested in coaching and getting to that optimal level of fitness for your goals, please reach out to me. You can send me a direct message, or you can go to my website again, rjbhealth.coach. Click on the schedule discovery call button, and you can talk a little bit more about coaching and how we can work together. With that, I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I'll